What's up, E39 Source? Ryan Schultz here with my 2000 E39 M5, and we're back at it. We're doing another one of these retrofits. I happened to buy a 2000 car 10 years ago, so I have to do all this weird, expensive, way too much work for way too little function kind of DIYs to bring it up to that full 2003 spec. And we've done a lot of weird stuff before, even some stuff that US cars don't have, like I've retrofit rear fog lights, BM53, Mark IV, 16:9 navigation display, Sirius XM, front PDC. I did the IHKA climate control panel that has the max AC button instead of the rest, if I can get that to focus. We did the shift knob, we did the shift or the e-brake handle, the instrument cluster, the steering wheel. What the hell else have I done to facelift this car? A lot of stuff, and it's nearly 100% complete. Now, the next thing that we're going to be doing, and half of it's already done in fact, I've been filming for this video for about a week, automatic headlights. Auto headlights came on the E39, at least in the US market, standard from production date September 1, 2001. That would be your 2002 model year. And then of course your 2003 model year as well. That's when auto headlights hit BMWs. I think it's the same thing in the E46 3 Series, the E53 X5, probably the E83 X3, so forth with most of their models. Now, thankfully, in E39s produced before September 1st, 2001, so your 97, 8, 9, 2001 model year, it's not impossibly challenging or expensive to retrofit this. Asterisk. Depends on when you view this video and what quality of parts you want, new or used, what your access level to parts looks like. So let's first just talk about the 5 components that we will need to change or add to enable the functionality of auto headlights. So we'll start with the easy ones. Somewhat easy, actually. Bezel has proven to be the hardest part, but we'll talk more about that. So in the cabin here, for your headlight switch, this is a temporary switch I have in there. This is a very weird situation, please bear with me. We have the headlight switch. And the pre-2002 model year cars have 3 positions. They have off, which is straight up, 12 o'clock, no lights are on. Then you have position 1, which is your parking lights. Those would be your halos, cluster lights, all the interior lights, and then the LED bars in the back. And then you have full on mode, which would be your xenons. 2002 cars add another switch over at 11 o'clock with a little A in it, and that means automatic mode. So we're going to need to change the electrical switch back behind the knob. That's part number 1. Part number 2 will be the bezel that adds the little headlight logo with an A in it, indicating automatic mode at 11 o'clock. So those are your first 2 things. Then we need a new sensor. There is a rain sensor installed back behind the rear view mirror. All these cars, at least for the US market, have automatic wipers. And there's a little prism and a little hole in the window, or a little view point in the window that isn't painted black. It's right here, it's kind of purple. There's a prism in there, and then there's a rain sensor. For 2002, to enable automatic headlights, BMW replaced the rain sensor with a rain light sensor. It's a new sensor, it's smaller. We're going to spend a lot of time in this video talking about it and how to change it. I've already done it at this point, but you'll see in the DIY exactly how that will need to be done. So the prism on the glass, which is glued to the inside of the glass, that needs to change. And then mounted to the prism is the sensor, and that needs to change. So we're at a total of 4 parts now: the headlight switch, the headlight bezel, the prism, and the sensor. Part number 5 is the LCM, the light control module. And unfortunately, there weren't even any hardware changes to the LCM. It's software, but you can't change the software on the LCM unless you, I don't know, you work at BMW in Germany and you have access to crazy tools that I've never even seen before. The LCM is located down here in the passenger's footwell, back behind this piece of trim. I've done several videos before, actually somewhat recently, about removing the LCM, accessing it, changing it, and then coding and programming it to the car. The LCM is one of the few modules in the car that knows the vehicle's VIN and how many miles are on the car. If you don't make those changes to a new or new used model or LCM that you install, you will get a tamper dot on the cluster. It's red. It means that the mileage doesn't made up, and if you try to sell the car, it's going to suck. It's probably illegal, so don't do that. I will include the clips in this video, or I will include a link to the video about the LCM below that you will absolutely need to go and watch to see how to get it, how to program it, all of those specifics. This particular M5 was produced in February of 2000, so it came with an LCM 3A. LCM's light control module, and then 3A is just the hardware/software version of that hardware. And that LCM is not new enough or not smart enough to understand the inputs from the new rain light sensor and the new headlight switch. So if you do all of this work, you change the switch in the bezel and the prism in the sensor, your lights won't work because the LCM isn't smart enough to know what to do with that. It'll probably still work normally as it did before, but your new function won't work. So what we've got to do is go to either an LCM 3B, B as in Bravo, or an LCM 4. Now I tried to install an LCM 4 from a parts car in this car, and I got everything working but the automatic leveling on the headlights. And the LCM 4 has what's called auto LWR, where it doesn't use an LWR module that's up and way back under the dash here. It's built into the LCM, and I just couldn't figure out how to code it to get it to work. So I have an LCM 3B in here from a 2002 M5 that I dismantled here at the shop. And I coded and programmed that to my car, and it's working brilliantly. So the LCM is the fifth and final component that we'll need to change to allow a automatic headlight retrofit. Here's a dumbed down overview of how the system will work. If you continue to use your headlight switch as you have with the old, LCM2 and rain sensor and just only the 3 positions, it's completely normal, nothing changes. The only addition of auto headlights is the 4th option at 11 o'clock to let the car decide when it's dark enough to turn the lights on. So if you're driving a long time from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. somewhere, whenever the sun sets in that time period, the car will realize it's dark and automatically turn your headlights on for you. And it uses the rain light sensor to determine the amount of ambient light that is available. And when that level of light falls below a certain threshold, it just goes to the LCM and says, hey, turn the headlights on for me, providing you are in the automatic mode. This video will focus on 2 of the 3 main areas that we'll be changing. Firstly, I think we're going to start off with the rain light sensor and prism. There's probably about 12 or 15 minutes of clips I have talking about that. Then we're going to move in, and it'll be next Monday, today's Friday, I'm just waiting on the part, to the actual switch replacement and the switch bezel replacement. That will happen soon. And then part 3, as I mentioned a minute ago, you're going to have to check the other video to see exactly how to remove and then reprogram an LCM. And I certainly recommend that you buy a used one in the neighborhood of $100 to $200 versus a new one from the BMW dealer is probably well over $1,000 plus program. It'd just be a waste of money. So they're certainly on eBay. I don't have any in stock currently. Please do feel free to email me about any of these parts to check local or to check current inventory. Ryan@e39source.com. I will leave that in the description below. Let's talk about installing the rain light sensor now. So we already discussed that the car originally came with a rain sensor, an RS. It uses a different prism attached to the windshield, and we're going to be changing that to an RLS, a rain light sensor. So let's start with the sensors. On the left, with the yellow sticker, ignore the sticker, that's just my way of telling which parted out vehicle it came from. That is a rain sensor. Doesn't detect the light, just the rain on the windshield. And you'll notice that it is quite a bit bulkier, thicker, and larger than the rain light sensor, which is found over here on the right. The sensor on the right will be used on all E39s, E46s, cars with automatic headlights and automatic windshield wipers from the production date 9/1/2001. So that would be September 1st, 2001. And there may be a couple of different part numbers. The one that ends in 954 is fine. Anything that looks like that should work. And it is important to note that the wiring connector, although in different places and in a different orientation, is exactly the same. There would be no electrical modifications, no modifications to the wiring harness or the loom to change the sensor, simply just changing the sensor. And then if we turn over the sensors, the newer rain light sensor at the bottom, the older rain sensor on top, we see why we have to change the prism on the windshield. They're a completely different layout, a completely different shape that obviously requires a different prism for the added functionality. Now, I'll show you in a moment how the old sensor is going to come out and how the new one's going to go in, but unless you are about to replace your windshield, which would be just super convenient if you are, you're going to have to get some of these things. I will link everything down in the description below the video. I actually could use a fresh windshield. This one went on in about 2011. It's been maybe 40 or 50,000 miles since then. It is certainly pitted. However, it is not chipped. It isn't cracked. It doesn't have enough damage for me to justify the cost of replacing it yet. If you are able to justify replacing your current windshield, whoever does it, the dealer, the independent shop, whatever, tell them it's a 2002. or a 2003. Just change the year. If you have a 528, tell them it's a 2002 540. It's going to be the same windshield, it's an E39, but just give them a year after the year 2002, or including the year 2002, and that way it will come with the right prism on there. Because BMW doesn't make this prism. It doesn't have a part number, you can't buy it at the dealer doesn't want to install it. This is not a BMW part. These things are made by, I assume, the windshield manufacturer, and they come installed on the glass. BMW does make the sensor, and the sensor clips on to the prism. So this is how this works. So for the sake of the DIY today, even though I kind of need a windshield, I'm not buying one, I'm going to take off the rearview mirror. We're going to take off the little black trim around that. We're going to pry off the old prism and the glue. We're going to clean the glass. We're going to install the new prism, and then we're going to install the rain light sensor in place of the rain sensor. So as I mentioned, there's two things that I purchased here from this company. The one on the right there, this one, is the kit. And this comes with the prism, which is this purple looking thing, and the red pad. The pad is just a 3M adhesive, and it's got a little thing on there right before we apply it. We're going to peel that off, and then we'll apply it to the car. I did also buy an additional pad in case I mess this up. Now, it's very important to say that this is an extremely sensitive procedure that we're going to be doing here. You don't want any finger oils, any dust, any air bubbles. Any of that will adversely affect the operation of the rain light sensor. And may, in fact, disable it from working altogether. So we need to be really careful with that. It comes with this instruction sheet. Make sure you read everything, read it twice, read it 3 times, read both sides. I'm not going to show you too much of it here. I guess you'll get a quick still in case yours doesn't come with it. You could pause the video and see most of the information. Each kit, that being the pad, also comes with this. This is 3M Primer 94, and per the instructions on the paperwork, after the glass has been cleaned, after the old prism has been removed, we need to run this over the glass, and then I think you wait a couple of minutes, and then we'll peel that off and install it onto the glass in a way that we kind of roll it on. Instead of applying it like that, it'll kind of go on like that, so you'll get less air behind it. But let's get into the car, let's start taking a couple things apart, and we'll see what the old system looks like. Okay, as usual, I've got to apologize for lighting. I'm doing everything I can. I've got the LED lights and these interior lights, but it's just a dark spot of the car to attempt to film in. First things first, I have a Valentine 1 radar detector hardwired onto the windshield. I'm going to remove that just so we get a little bit of extra room in here to work. Up next, we need to take off the black plastic cover that's right here behind the rearview mirror, and it's just it's a 2-piece design with a seam down the middle, and I don't even think we're going to need any tools for it. We can probably, I might need 2 hands. I think we just need to pry it apart in the middle or pull from both sides. So let me try that with the camera down. So I clipped it back together, but it just wiggles right off the mirror. I kind of took the whole thing and moved it like that. That spread it apart, and then just picked the pieces apart to either side. And that gives us a beautiful view of everything that's installed up here. Please ignore this. This is just the wiring for the Valentine 1 detector. Up next, I've seen people try to do this with the rear view mirror installed. I don't know why. It is a lot easier to just remove the rear view mirror. And to do that, we simply take the mirror and rotate it counterclockwise about 45 degrees, and it comes off of its little perch that's installed onto the glass. Then we have one wiring connector with a typical BMW releasing tab that must be pressed and pulled at the same time. Of course, I need 2 hands for that as well. So once I disconnect that wire, the whole rearview mirror will come off. I have adjusted the light so we can see things a little bit better. Now we have a beautiful unobstructed view of the current rain sensor that's installed right here. We can see the electrical connector at the top. That'll be really easy to remove with one hand like that. And again, we're going to be reusing this same connector for the rain light sensor. So we'll just kind of push that out of the way a little bit. And then removing the rain sensor from the prism, we've got little tabs on each side that need to be wiggled outwards. And it looks like they don't go very far. I don't know if you can tell, but it moved out maybe a quarter, an eighth of an inch really at best. And it's going to be the same thing on the other side. It'd be a little bit easier with a tool, like a screwdriver, but this works well enough. And once you release those tabs, see how they're sticking out on the side like that? If I push them back in, then you don't see it. Once you release the tabs, it just pulls right off. And now we are able to see the old prism, as I continue to call it, which is installed on the windshield. We will need to very carefully remove the old prism with some plastic pry tools or a screwdriver. It might actually be made of glass, so that'll be fun. Try not to break it. And what I hear is the adhesive that holds the prism to the glass is made out of kind of a very similar material to what holds a new credit card on the paperwork that they send it to you on. You know, you kind of ball it up in your fingers and discard it when you get your new credit card in the mail. So if it's like that, we'll probably just roll it, clean it up, maybe use a razor blade and then some isopropyl alcohol, some glass cleaner to get that surface mated and ready. Or ready to mate with the new prism. So let me play with this a little bit, see what it's going to take to get this old prism off the glass. Here is the rain sensor prism that is actually made of glass, removed from the car. So this is what we saw from inside the car where the sensor attached. This is what you would have seen through the windshield from the outside of the car. I used a heat gun on high heat for about 30 seconds without holding the heat in one specific place for too long. Keep moving it around. That loosens the glue, and then I used one of these Schwaben pry tools, started from the right and just kind of peeled it off. So that worked pretty well. It took maybe 90 seconds. Up next, we will need to carefully, it might still be hot, no, peel off this credit card goop that's stuck on the little hole where the sensor, or where the prism used to be, and the sensor. So it actually, credit card goop is the best description. That's exactly what it feels like. And we can kind of just roll it. It'll take a couple minutes maybe, but that'll come off pretty well. And then we need to very meticulously clean this entire area. The paperwork actually recommends using a 50-50 mix of isopropyl alcohol and water. I don't have that, so I'm going to use glass cleaner, a good Stoner glass cleaner, and hope that that works. Within about 5 minutes you can have that little view hole there where the prism was absolutely flawless. The majority of the old glue comes off in your fingers, just like that credit card goop. Then I used a razor blade to get some more. Then I went ahead and broke out the Goo Gone. We got the rest of it with that. This is all of it here. It's exactly like the stuff that holds credit card on paper. That's the best description. And then I finished up with this Stoner glass cleaner over the top of it. So that is all nice and clean. Right before we install our new prism, I am going to give it a wipe over with this 3M Primer 94. And as best as I can tell, it is just kind of a felt tip. There's no cap. It doesn't seem to open or come apart. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to do the back side of it now, just so I don't mess it up. But take it and just rub it on the glass. I don't know what that's going to do, but that's what the instructions say. So again, one final comparison. On top we have the rain sensor and the rain sensor prism. On the bottom we have the rain light sensor and the rain light sensor prism. So with this kit, when you buy the kit, it means it comes with the prism and it comes with the pad. Before we install it, we're going to take this, take it off. It's actually really hard to peel off, but that's the glue is behind that. So we'll peel that off. Then it wants us to heat the glue up before we put it on. And it says not to use a heat gun. It wants you to use something more natural, like heat from a light. Well, the lights in here are way up high and they don't make any heat. And then this light is an LED light and it doesn't really make any heat. So I'm not too sure what I'm going to use to heat it up. There are some canister lights inside the shop here. Maybe they make some heat. So we'll do that. But before we do that, we want to hit the primer. Take the primer, just wipe it over the whole little window from the inside of the glass. Then we're going to peel off the sticker. We're going to get that warm. And then the most critical part of all of this will be lining it up straight in the window and rolling it kind of onto the glass, as opposed to that. Kind of roll it onto the glass, make sure we have no dust, no bubbles, no air pockets, nothing. Okay guys, we're back. It's been a couple of days. I finished the RLS and prism installation a few days ago. It's not as clean as I wanted, and I tried really hard on this. We can get a look here on the outside if I can bring that into focus. It looks like there's residue or some of that credit card goop still on there. No, those are air bubbles in the prism, which you don't want at all. And I was so careful with the installation. I know how sensitive it is. I tried to roll it on there and then push it and Tried to peel it back off and do it again, but once that stuff makes contact with the glass, there's no such thing as a second attempt. Ultimately, that's why you buy the second pad. So if I wanted an opportunity again, I would disassemble the mirror, take everything off, take the prism off very carefully as not to damage it, remove all the goo from everything. It would probably take forever. Apply the pad to the prism and then peel off the backing and then put the other end of the pad on the glass again. However, I don't know that I'm capable of doing it any better than that. And I will be getting a new windshield soon, within the next year, or maybe within the next months. So I'm just going to leave that. Now, two things we need to test, obviously, are the functionality of the auto lights once we go ahead and install a new switch, which is coming. But let's test the auto wipers right now. That's really easy to do. So put the key in the cart, put the key into position 1, then take your wiper stock. And these are a little tricky if you don't know how they work. So let's make sure we're ready for automatic mode. So if you press it down as far as it goes once, that will cycle the wipers manually 1 time. Now bring it up 1 position. That will cycle the wipers 1 more time, indicating that they're now in automatic mode. So what I'm going to do is close the door, keep the interior nice, and then this is just a old detailing spray bottle that I just put some water in. And it's in spray mode, so we'll spray the sensor with the water and we'll see that the wipers come on. Hit it a little bit and they come on again. If you start going crazy with it, the wipers go. So that is seemingly working as designed. Now, I don't really drive this car in the rain, and it's, you know, even here in January in San Diego, it's not raining very much. That was an odd wipe. But, you know, maybe in the last 3 years I've used the automatic wipers in rain 2 or 3 times. So not only is it not super critical to me that they work well, from that standpoint, I'm just not even that familiar with them anymore, exactly what it should take to get them to go. But seemingly, you hit that with any amount of water, maybe not that time, and they do cycle. Now, in actuality, you know, in a more realistic driving scenario, if you take this car out and it's just misting, maybe they're not sensitive enough, maybe they're too sensitive, I don't know. But it is working. I can hit that sensor with water, and they go. Now, it's important to also note on the wiper stock there is an adjustment for how sensitive the rain sensor is. Now, I've always left mine up in that upper position right there. This is the adjustment here. So this would be your lowest sensitivity, allowing the most amount of rain to form on the windshield before wiping. You have another option, a third, and finally your 4th most sensitive option. So I recommend for this testing, and really for all driving experiences, just put it all the way up, mostly sensitive. I can count on one hand the number of times I've felt it appropriate to dial it back in any way. I'll let you in on the next secret too. After I finished the prism installation and tested the wipers like I just did for you now, I did go ahead and rob a new switch. And the switch is that switch right there. I put the switch in, it's purple instead of black. I don't know why, that's just how we know the switches that have the automatic headlight support. And then I had replaced all of this stuff in my M5 4 or 5 years ago. I replaced this whole bezel, I replaced the dimmer potentiometer, I replaced the fog light switch bezel, the fog light switch handle. I did the headlight switch bezel, and the headlight switch handle as well. And all of that's still in here, minus the headlight switch. These are broken, damaged parts from cars that I've dismantled here at the E39 source shop. So these aren't mine, they're temporarily installed right now while I wait for the new bezel that has the automatic position. That thing is proving to be extremely, extremely difficult to find. I can't find anyone's used from the big guys that take these cars apart. Me, Adam, Mikhail, nobody has them. They're not on eBay, and they're around $400 new for a plastic disc, which just doesn't sit well with me at all. I don't want to spend $400 on that. So again, these are just parts that I've put in here. So there's actually, see the purple switch is in there. This isn't, I've taken the thing out of it so it doesn't clip on very well. And with the old non-automatic position bezel in there, that bezel actually prevents me from turning automatic mode on. I cannot go to 11 o'clock because the bezel doesn't allow it. Which is really annoying. You know, maybe some of you want to do this job, but you don't really care if you get the little A. Well, it won't work. And there's not an easy way to modify the bezel, short of absolutely destroying it, to get it to work. I've actually taken the fiber optic plastic piece out of here. If I haven't put the clip in already, you'll soon see how it works. The switch itself has an orange LED. The LED shines into the plastic piece, which then bends around and shares the light with these 3, or in the case of the automatic bezel, 4 stops of the switch, so they're illuminated at night. I've taken that plastic out of here, so I really only have my off position and then half of my parking light position illuminated. Now what I am able to do is take the switch off, only put it on halfway, and then rotate it to automatic mode. Then you can kind of put the switch back in, but you'll see if I then turn it off and try to turn it on, it won't work. I have to take that switch out halfway and turn it. So this is temporary while I wait for that piece. I just wanted to verify functionality. And I did drive the car a couple of days, and I'm very happy to report that it seems to be functioning exactly as designed. It takes several seconds for the sensor to adapt to light change. I think that's normal. If you drive under a bridge or a big cloud goes in front of the sun, you don't want your lights sporadically coming on and off. Not only is it not good for the bulbs, it looks weird and it's unnecessary. So right now we're in the shop. It's daytime. There's a couple of skylights in here that the lights are on, but it's still seeing that this isn't really daytime light. So as you can see, it has my cluster lights and halos, and then the LEDs and the tail lights illuminated right now. If I were to put the key into position 2 or start the car, the xenons would come on, level, fully automatic mode. The one time during the day, I started the car in here, the lights were on. I backed it outside into the 2 p.m. sunlight, and within 5 seconds the light went off. So even with the bubbles currently in my prism, it's working. The auto wipers work and the auto lights work. We're back. It's Monday. I picked up the part from BMW of Escondido this morning. It's a pricey one. I guess this is the last one in the United States. I don't know if there's more stock in Germany or not. But as of January 13th, 2020, this may or may not be the last one of these guys left new. So that's the part number there, 61316909780. Again, all this does is add the little A for automatic mode there at 11 o'clock. And let's take a look at the back end of this, and we'll see what I was talking about before. I call it fiber optics. It's just a piece of plastic. So the peg that sticks up there, that goes right into the headlight switch, the electrical part of the switch, and there's an LED in there that shines orange into the peg, and then the light is distributed from the peg around the perimeter of the part in that upper plastic part from about 9:30 until 2 o'clock there, and it's held in with some screws, and then there's holes that allow the light to shine through each of those 4 options, illuminating them at night. So that's how that thing works. This is my original switch that I have taken out of the car. With non-auto headlights, you'll see that the switch is black. With the automatic mode, you'll see that it turns purple. So removing the knob itself, which is this, it's got a little picture of a light bulb on it, can be a little bit tricky. I replaced this thing. I think I paid $3 or $4 for it years ago. I don't know what it costs now. But taking that off, that's your first step. And if you can grab a hold of it and pull it, that's great. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to get some pliers or some channel locks. Make sure that you put several layers of something protective in between the pliers and this. This is just plastic. You will gouge it up quite badly. What I did was a couple layers of shop towels in between the switch and the tool. Pull it off, then you're going to find this. There's a large plastic nut in there. The nut is a 19 millimeter. I would recommend a 19 millimeter deep well 6-point socket like that. You don't need a wrench or a ratchet on the other end of it. It's not that tight. It's just plastic. Just put it on there and twist it with your hands. And as you get the nut off, you will then be able to remove the bezel. So this will be important for removal, but let's actually go inside the car and look at how we're going to do this. We do need to remove the entire instrument cluster bezel to replace the switch. It's not a difficult procedure in the least. We will need to start with removing the trim. You've either got wood or this Titan line or cubic or whatever you've got. This one's pretty easy. There's kind of a lip back here. You can just get your fingers behind it, pull straight out carefully, and there's a total of 2 pegs holding this trim in, as you'll see, like that. So that pops off. And then that's going to reveal 2 brass Phillips head screws. If your tabs are intact or not, it's rare that if these things are original, the tabs are still intact. What I mean by tabs, there's a tab here that comes off of the trim and screws in, and there's another tab here. And as we remove this piece over here, which is oftentimes a little bit more tricky, I usually put the steering wheel all the way down. Then you can kind of get a finger back behind it just like the other side, pull, and it comes off like that. And then there's one electrical connector if you've got an M5 for the TPMS button. So we'll just set these pieces of trim safely out of the way, and that reveals the 3rd tab with yet another Phillips head screw. So we'll need to remove the 3 Phillips. Then up top, we've got 3 Torx 10. That's T10, it's up there in the dark. You can kind of see there's one at 12 o'clock, and then there's one at like 1 o'clock, and maybe the third one's over here at 11 o'clock. So you'll need a very small T10 screwdriver or socket on a quarter ratchet. Release those, and then the whole thing's going to pull out of here. So those are the T10s, or that's just one of them that comes out of the top of the cluster. Once that happens, you can just kind of start on this side, get a finger behind it, and pull it outwards. The only other 2 things that are keeping it tight are these pegs on the back of the instrument cluster trim that slide into those holes, and they're just friction fit. There's no more fasteners. You just need to pull it out straightly. So work it on this side a little bit, and then work it on this side, and then the whole thing comes loose. Now I'm going to unplug the 3 electrical components that plug into this trim so we can take it over to the bench to actually swap the bezel out. So thing number 1 will be your fog light switch on the right. It is just one, I think it's a 3 or 4 pin electrical connector. Of course it's tight, I'll need another hand. On the driver's side or left side, we've got one 3-pin for your dimmer switch, and then you've got the 3-pin for the headlight switch. When you unplug that, keep in mind, for some reason, without a headlight switch plugged in, that defaults on. So now all your lights came on just like you had it in position 1 like that. Why that happens, I don't know, it just does. So at this point you want to work fairly quickly so you don't kill your battery. So I'll work on this fog light plug a little more, there we go. And now we can just carefully work the whole thing out of the car and over to the workbench. When you take the driver's headlight knob off, we see that 19mm nut. Let me go ahead and remove that. With the nut out of the way, the switch will now just drop out the bottom. We can see this is the automatic switch, which is purple, whereas the normal switch is black. And yours might be a little tight if it's been in there a while, but the bezel should now just push out from the back through the front. And as you can see, I totally removed the plastic / fiber optics from there, so we'll put that out of the way. We'll take our new piece, drop it right in. We can now put the switch back behind. Again, line it up through the hole. It's a little tricky to do one-handed. And it only fits the one way. There's like a little stopper in it, or a little peg or a key in it, so it only goes the right way. Now we thread the 19mm nut back on. Start this by hand. You don't want to cross these threads, and there is no need to go tight on this at all. I'm just going to thread it hand tight and then just barely snug it down with this socket and the use of my hands, no ratchets. Once that's snugged down, we can take our knob, line it up, give it a push back into place, and we are done. That is the switch change and installation. Feels very nice. Looks sharp. Now we can go ahead and put this back in the car. Here we are at the finished product. The trim installs very easily. You just line it up, make sure the wires aren't going to get pinched or anything, and then kind of press here and here to push those pegs back into their holes as I showed you before. The switch looks great. It feels really good. And the light distribution is super, super even and clean and crisp, and that's just the beauty of a new part. No scratches, no broken parts. It's not shiny and oily. It looks great. So couldn't be happier with that. That is the automatic light retrofit on an E39 that was made before September 1st of 2001. To look at the LCM removal, installation, and coding and programming to your car segment of this video, please be sure to check the video description below. I will have a link to a video. It was actually about taillights, but I'll also put a timestamp. I'm going to make this up right now, but let's say it's at 6 minutes and 40 seconds. That's where you want to go to see how to do the LCM. I will warn you now here in this video, you need BMW PA Soft or BMW Scanner 1.4 or something more advanced than Carly, more advanced than INPA to be able to code or program the vehicle mileage and VIN to that module. It's not difficult once you have the right setup, but I can't assist you with that setup. It's quite complicated depending on what PC or Mac hardware you're running. Talking very briefly about parts here before we wrap up this way too long video. We've got tons of them. Let me know what you're interested in, and I will be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Again, my email is ryan@e39source.com. I don't have everything. I'm missing, you know, kind of the common things that people want. Mark IVs, style 65 wheels. I don't have that right now. I've got a surplus of headliners. I'm in a dealing mood. Talk to me. I do have one more automatic headlight switch that is available. I don't have the bezel with it, unfortunately, but that is a good part that's ready to go. The rest of these are just fog light, regular headlight switch, regular regular headlight switch. That's the automatic, and an additional fog light switch missing a bezel. I just have rain sensors. I don't have any more rain light sensors at the moment, but I've got tons and tons of modules and BM53s, C43 radios. I mean, you guys know. You guys know what I do here, and here it all is. So let me know if you need anything. We'll talk in a future E39 source video. Thanks for watching.